innovation and industry-defining technology by Canon. So I have a piece of advice for you. Be prepared to get amazed. That's right. I know seeing is believing. Well, you'll see in just a bit. Ladies and gentlemen, to get this show on the road, I now urge all of you to please help me start with a round of applause, with a thunderous round of applause for the Vice President, Consumer Imaging and Information Center, Mr. Eddie Udagawa. Let's welcome him with a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Warm welcome, Mr. Udagawa.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, all my friends. Okay. I'm Eddie Udagawa, and I'm happy to see all of you gathered here today. And I would also like to welcome all our online viewers across the country today. On behalf of one and all, I'd like to extend my heartiest welcome to you to experience our latest innovation. But before I get into the detail, I'd like to talk about myself. Maybe for some of you, it's the first time for me to meet you. I'm Eddie Udagawa, Vice President for Consumer Products in CANON India, in charge of cameras, videos, and printers. It's been almost 10 months since I came to India. And actually, during this period, I find India is a very nice place for photo shooting. There are many, many historical monuments, structures, and the foods here are very colorful, yellow, red, green, white, so colorful for photo shooting. And also the festivals, many festivals with a color. So I'm very much enjoying my photo shooting and also business here. It is really a promising market for us. So I'd like to continue, of course, working and for photo shooting here. And now, throughout this afternoon, you will experience Canon technology and see it through the eyes of two of the industry's leading storytellers. The still and motion imagery will be a visual treat to the journey. So again, on behalf of all of us at Canon India, I'd like to welcome you to the second edition of EOS Nation. I hope you enjoy the rest of this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Udagawa. Thank you so much for that heartwarming address. And with that welcome in order, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to say to you that Canon has always been at the heart of innovation and groundbreaking technology. Canon has always been redefining its products to offer cutting-edge technology to its consumers. Today, too, we've got one such amazing product for all of you. Now, this product is for professionals as well as enthusiasts, offering a comprehensive feature set that imbues your photography with a sense of genius. Ladies and gentlemen, here's presenting the all-new EOS 6D Mark II. if you could come and take some clicks. We have with us Mr. Udagava. Together with Mr. Udagava, we have the iconic wedding photographer, Mr. Prakash Tilokani, and awarded wildlife photojournalist, Mr. Sandesh Kadur. A big round of applause for them, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for doing the honors. You may now take your seats, please. Thank you so much for unveiling for us this afternoon the all-new Canon EOS 6D Mark II, ladies and gentlemen. And now with that, we must proceed to the technical presentation. And for that, I'd like to take the privilege of inviting on stage Manager Marketing Communication, ICP Marketing Division, Consumer Imaging and Information Center, Canon India, Mr. Michael Brown. Please help me welcome Mr. Michael Brown with a big hand, ladies and gentlemen. Warm welcome, Mr. Brown. All yours.
Good afternoon, friends. Am I audible to the people at the back? Yeah? Very nice to see all of you here on a very, very rainy afternoon. And I'd also like to take this moment to welcome all the people tuned in online, because we've got a lot of people who are tuned into the webinar as well. So we're going to do a very, very short presentation around the technicals of the 6D Mark II. I won't take much time because you want to hear these two gentlemen talk. And I'm going to start with a very short video. So can I have the video for the EOS 6D Mark II? So after that video, I don't really have to say much, do I? So should I just skip my presentation? I'm going to ask people a question, all of you seated around here. So name one thing that all of us do on a daily basis, but it can be something that's very challenging or very difficult. Any guesses? Anyone from the crowd? Anything? Okay. Is it that difficult? Well, we guys get up at 6:30. We're used to that for work. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what it is. It is making a choice. Something that all of us do every day, right? But it's something which is not very easy. Choosing X or Y. And that's why I'm here today, to tell you that with the new EOS 6D Mark II, which is feature-rich but lightweight, which is power-packed but compact, which has a whole lot of connectivity options, but it's affordable. With this camera, there's no need to choose, because you can get everything in one camera. Does that make sense? All right. So what's new? A 26.2 megapixel full frame sensor. The latest Digic 7 processor, the sensor has been newly developed. What does this give you? What does this mean for you guys, the photographers? We're talking about brilliant world-class imagery, yeah? Per pixel detail, sharpness, resolution. When you move to low light, we're talking about an expanded ISO range, 100 to 40,000. All these photos have actually been shot on the EOS 6D Mark II. This is at 6400. That's what the sensor and the new Digic 7 processor in this camera mean to you guys. Let's move on. Let's look at the new AF system. 45 all cross-type points. A very good AF grid, dense. 27 points active at f8. Is anyone among you a wildlife photographer? Can you guys raise your hands? Just a raise of hands. Anyone shoot wildlife? Other than you, Sandesh? Okay. Okay, so you guys will know what 27 points, you'll know what f8, the importance of shooting at f8 when you've got a teleconverter. And -3 EV sensitivity. So basically you can shoot in very, very, very low light. This is very useful for you wedding photographers as well. Let's move on. Dual pixel CMOS AF, one of the highlights of the 6D Mark II, coupled with a touchscreen. And we've added, for the first time in an EOS full-frame camera, an articulating LCD. Now, what does that mean? You can do this. You switch to video mode. You're shooting stills in live view. You simply touch anywhere on your articulating LCD, and you can focus. You touch drag, you can focus move. You can do a variety of things. Your subject moves. You can track the subject. The camera will track the subject for you. That's the power of dual pixel CMOS AF. It's something which is there on our flagship EOS 1DX Mark II. It's also there on the 5D Mark IV, which you guys already know so well. And now it's there on the new 6D Mark II. An articulating LCD, this is something which I think everybody demanded from the 5D Mark IV. Well, we finally got it. It works very well. It tilts out, so you can use it on your tripods as well. No issues. Let's move on. Again, wildlife guys, wedding guys, anyone who shoots sports, fast action, 6.5 FPS. This is very fast. Almost as fast as the 5D Mark IV. That's 7 FPS, right? 4 FPS in live view mode. So you turn on your live view mode, you turn on the LCD. Previously, DSLRs could never guarantee you a certain number of FPS in live view mode because cameras would hunt, right? Now we can actually guarantee that you'll get up to 4 FPS in live view mode with autofocus, with subject tracking, with everything on board, right? Let's talk a little bit about video now. Full HD at 60 FPS. Movie electronic IS. This is something which is new. So the EOS 6D Mark II has a built-in gyro sensor, and it has image stabilization inbuilt for video exclusively. What this will do is it will stack with any IS lens that you have, any of our EF lenses, and you will get an additive IS effect. So 4 stops on your lens will add to this image stabilization. So when you're shooting video, if you're moving around, you don't have a proper rig, you're going to find that your videos are sharper, you're going to have less blur, you're going to have less bobbing thanks to this. In-camera HDR, for people who don't want to get into post-processing but want a video quick out of the camera with a lot of details in shadowy areas, details in highlight areas. You turn on movie HDR mode, you will get a video with a very good high dynamic range, very good contrast, right in the camera. You don't need to do anything. 4K time-lapse video. Any one of you guys who shoots time-lapse previously, you could only do it at a resolution of up to full HD. That was it, 1920 by 1080. Now you have the option of shooting time-lapse videos at a much higher resolution, 4K. Let's move a little more about video. Movie servo tracking. So I told you, DAF enables the 6D Mark II to actually track your subjects while you're recording video. So you touch, you focus on the person's face, the person starts moving around, the camera is going to follow and track that person. Much like anyone who's used camcorders and you've seen the way camcorders would focus. So this is something which is a big, big thing for you video guys. You don't need to get into manual focusing, which is very difficult when people are moving around, right? What does DAF give you? Again, focus racking. This is something which a lot of you guys will do, particularly wedding guys. You want to focus on jewelry, then you want to focus on something else. You want to transition smoothly. Thanks to the touchscreen, thanks to the live view focusing, this is something that you can do. Let's move on to connectivity. You think of it, something that your phone has, Wi-Fi, NFC, Bluetooth. We've got all of that in the 6D Mark II. And you know what? We just added GPS as well for those guys who travel around with their camera. So in terms of connectivity, there's a lot you can do. You can pair it with your phone. You can use it. You can control the camera with your phone like a remote. Yeah? You can transfer images. You can shoot instantly on your camera, transfer images to your phone to show your clients. If you're shooting for media, you can transfer, you can get a beautiful image, shoot, transfer to your phone, immediately push it on social media, Facebook, whatever you want to do, yeah? So that's what this connectivity offers you. It's small, the camera is compact, as you will see, but it's also weather sealed. In line with our full frame range, 6D Mark II features weather sealing against both moisture as well as dust. As of now, the EOS 6D Mark II is the lightest full-frame DSLR in the world. It is just 5 grams heavier than the EOS 6D that it replaces. Just 5 grams heavier with so much more functionality. Just 685 grams. What does it cost? There's the pricing for all of you. Starting at 132,995. That's a lot of features, a lot of performance packed into a really compact and lightweight body, coming at a very, very good price. You guys would already be aware of the price of the 5D Mark IV and the rest of our lineup. So I think this makes a great value proposition for people who are looking to move, upgrade perhaps from an 80D, perhaps people who are shifting from another system, moving to the Canon ecosystem, the 60 Mark II is a very appealing option for all of you. And that's it from me. So I didn't take very long, did I? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Brown. What a compelling presentation, ladies and gentlemen, on the all-new Canon EOS 60 Mark II right here. Ladies and gentlemen, from here, it is now my privilege to invite on stage the awarded wildlife photojournalist, whose photographs have been widely published in books and magazines, while his documentaries with subjects ranging from king cobras to clouded leopards have been aired worldwide on BBC, Discovery, and National Geographic networks. Not just that, ladies and gentlemen, recently his work for Planet Earth has been nominated for an Emmy Award for cinematography. And ladies and gentlemen, through his wildlife photography, he hopes that his audience learns to protect and appreciate what remains of the wilderness. Please help me welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Sandesh Kadur. Warm welcome, Mr. Kadur.
Thank you all for that welcome. Is my mic on? Can you all hear me? Okay, great. So I'm a wildlife photojournalist, wildlife filmmaker, a little bit of a contrast to different sorts. I wear different hats. I'm not wearing one right now. But the point is, there are two very different realms, photography and filmmaking. And at some point or the other, both of them kind of like converged. And I must say that it's because of technology that I'm now doing both. Otherwise, you had a completely different set for photography, a completely different set for filmmaking. So it's made my job easier, it's made my camera bag lighter, and it's made life a whole lot easier. But there are lots of differences. Now, just to talk a little bit about myself, I do a lot of work with the BBC, with National Geographic, and I'm a fellow of the International League of Conservation Photographers, ILCP. So that's doing purely photographic work, and with the other two broadcasters, it's mostly documentary work. I started a company. This is an image from our last shoot for Planet Earth for BBC. How many of you here have seen Planet Earth? Planet Earth 2, the latest one. So those of you who haven't seen it, it will soon be broadcast on Sony, BBC Earth, the new channel coming up. So it's a film that we filmed in Assam in the grasslands. And so I have a company called Felis. It basically comes from felines, the cat family. We create, connect, conserve. And that's our very simple motto, we create to conserve. And that's where we have a little bit of a tie with Canon's whole philosophy of Kiyosei and the whole harmonious living with nature concept. And we do that through engagement. We like to engage all of you to help protect the environment. And how do we do that? Through our work with making documentaries, making books. We connect the audiences to help conserve what we love, or what we need to treasure, and what we need to protect for our future generations. So I made a film a few years ago called Northeastern Diaries. It was the first film that was actually short film that was made entirely, almost entirely, with the 5D Mark II and the 1D Mark IV. At that time, the 5D Mark II was the first camera that had come out which had both high definition video and high resolution still imagery all in one camera. That's when technology converged to allow us to be able to do this. And broadcasters did not want to broadcast it because we're like, what is this, DSLR shooting video? Why are we going to broadcast it? We're not going to. So of course, once the film started to get recognized, started getting awards everywhere, that's when the broadcasters also said, okay, this DSLR footage is good enough for us to broadcast. So since then, I've been using technology to kind of put it into the mainstream. And this convergence of technology is what allows us to do that. Here's a short clip from that whole video. A little bit of a show reel. Thank you. So most of all of that was shot again on the 5D Mark II systems back then, and it was all shot when it was just high definition, and I could use it as a fantastic still camera and also as a wonderful video camera. That was the biggest technological advancement for me. Most recently, we finished a project with National Geographic, I think about 10 days ago. Last Monday, actually exactly last Monday, we did a big show for National Geographic called Earth Live. And in that show, it was #2 trending worldwide, and it was one of the biggest shows for National Geographic. So we're doing a lot of live shows. I think this show is also being streamed live, so a lot of live things are happening. For BBC Planet Earth 2, we also use a lot of the Canon DSLR cameras for our camera traps. So cameras that we can leave in the forest, and it activates when there's movement. So Canon cameras have always helped us get those low light shots in the jungle of these animals. Now, with the books, we did a book on the Western Ghats, which again was released by the Prime Minister at the time, Manmohan Singh ji. And these books have gone a long way in helping conservation. And recently we did a book about the Himalaya, and this was released by the Dalai Lama. And these books and documentaries help connect us to huge audiences and help get our message of conservation across. And technology allows us to do that. And it's wonderful that Canon also has that same belief and that same philosophy, and that allows us to work together in many ways. Last year, Michael at Canon gave me the 1DX Mark II to try out, and I went to Ladakh and shot this short film as a test for this 1DX. Here's this short look at Ladakh, a timeless landscape. So why did I show you all of these things from the previous times? Because that's a great way of launching into what we really are here for. My journey now with the new EOS 6D Mark II. And I've had a lot of practice with the older cameras, so it was a huge relief in many ways with this new camera coming out, that if I may take one of these cameras off the stand here, one feature that all of us photographers have been asking Canon to do was to give us an articulating LCD screen, right? How many of you have wanted that screen? That's it? Not more? My God, this is like one of the most useful little features for a camera to have. And for 7 years, Canon, said, no, we were not going to give you one. But finally they gave it, and we are so happy. Arigato, arigato. Yeah. It makes my life easy. You can take low angle shots, you can take top angle shots, you can do a lot with that one little function. So armed with this new technology, exactly about a month ago, I took the camera back to this amazing landscape of Ladakh, and I do a lot of landscape photography, and it's probably one of the best places in India to go and do landscape photography is Ladakh, and I put the camera through its paces. I even dropped it a few times. Just kidding. No. Shh. All right. So we got into Ladakh, and of course, I'm not going to harp about its megapixels, how many megapixels it does and all of that. Michael's already run you through it. But what I'm going to tell you is that it has enough megapixels to give you the kind of detail that will help you make prints like that you see on that wall. Those are prints that have just come off the press, and you can see them later. These are enlargements on print with printed on the Canon image prograph printer, and you can see they're very high resolution. They're perfectly printable in pretty different formats. And I was very impressed with the kind of colors I was getting out of the camera without doing any changes to any of the settings, just shooting it straight out of the box. What you see here, I think both Prakash and I agree that the colors are a little too much, okay? But what you see in the print is actually better color rendition. But it's amazing the amount of detail that you see in the imagery and how it handles the most difficult color. Which one is the most difficult color? Anyone? There you go, black. If it's not black, the other most difficult color is white, right? I'll show you some pictures about that also. So, like you saw in the previous picture, handling shadow and handling detail in the shadow is most important when you're doing your portraits, or actually when you're doing anything, even if you're doing wildlife stuff or people stuff, handling the noise in the shadow area is what's most important. And here I was very impressed in how the light on one side of the face is balanced off with the light on the other. The shadow details is just amazing. Even when your subject is close to a window, I have a special project where I go and give photographs back to the people that I have photographed. And here I took this picture of Namgyal's grandfather and took his picture back, and he held that picture. And I have a series of this around India. And it's amazing the kind of highlight and shadow details that this camera could handle without doing too many settings. Also, one more thing I'd like to point out. The software for this, for Photoshop or Lightroom or anything, has not yet been released, I don't think. And so none of these pictures are processed through any kind of software. These are just straight from the camera, and these are just high-res JPEGs, even though we shot in RAW. So they're not touched up, they're not modified. They are as I shot them, is as I am presenting them to you right here. And I was impressed with the detail in the images. Again, this is not wildlife, this is just a dog. But the fact that I can put the camera down and I can actually see the screen without having to get down into the water, without having to get down on the rocks, with this articulating LCD screen, it's a huge benefit for your compositions. When you want to compose an image, you want to be able to see it. With the screen attached in the back, it was very hard to see. You had to get down on the ground flat. Now you don't have to. You can be a little bit lazy. As we're getting a little older, we like to be a little bit lazy. But you don't want to compromise on your angle. So it allows you some cool angles. And again, you can see the detail in the clouds up on top. And that's what's important for me, to be able to retain the detail in the highlights as well as in the shadows. My models are models like this, very unlike Prakash's models. My models are geckos and smaller things. But even with my models, I like to make them look pretty, even if it's a gecko on the wall. So here's a simple image of a gecko, and the amount of detail in the scales is what I was bringing out. This is with a 2-flash setup, and I must say it was a very quick and easy process setting up the 2 flashes with the camera and getting images that are akin to model studio photography. So it's a camera that's suitable for indoors and outdoors. It does high frame shooting, 6.5 frames. I've only put 3 frames there. Let me put this camera back here so I don't drop it again. Oh, just kidding. All right, one more. Now this is a landscape image. The sunlight, starburst, all the way down to the detail of the tree trunk. I was very impressed in how it handled that latitude. It's the kind of dynamic range that we have with our eyes, is what the camera can see, and especially with its new sensor and all of it, it can really allows for that latitude to open up. And that's what you can see with images like that. And something that all of you are interested in, how well does the camera do in low light, right? Now this is a half moon or a 3/4 of a moon type shot, and you can see its ISO is only at 2500. This image, the next image, the ISO is at 1600, and the shutter speed, of course, I keep it long because I wanted it to be a 30-second long shutter speed. And at 1600 ISO, this camera can go up to 40,000 ISO. So it's just amazing how, even with a very low ISO setting, I could still capture a star landscape. And that to me is very important, just having that flexibility to go up more. Now here's an image at 100 ISO, and now just watch what happens here. That's the moon with the starburst, and you can see that even going up to 40,000 ISO, it handles it really well, and you can do some really nice compositions like that. So having that flexibility was one big advantage with this camera in low light. Time lapse. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. How many people here do time lapse? Okay, a couple of people. Now I'm just going to show you a quick example. Basically, you're speeding up time. When I say time lapse, you capture lots of still images, you stitch them together. If you shoot 250 still frames, you get about 10 seconds of video. That's basically what the math involved is. And this doesn't really matter for the moment, because it just depends on how long you want to keep the camera triggering. So 20 minutes will give you 1,250 frames. So let me show you an example of what the 4K time-lapse mode on the camera does. So you see the clouds are just being sped up. Or at night with the stars, with the moon rising. So it's all an automated process where the camera can do it inside the camera, or you can just do it as, it has 2 different modes. Intervalometer mode, and where you retain your RAWs, your JPEGs and all of that, and you have 4K time-lapse mode where it automatically creates the time-lapse for you at the end of the shot. So I'm not going to show you this clip again, but basically it does the same thing on 4K time-lapse. Yeah. So apart from all its feature sets with time-lapse, intervalometer, all that, what I was impressed was its metering system. Now with its different type of center-weighted metering and matrix metering and all of that, you're able to get your different shots and get your exposure exactly how you want it to be in different conditions. And of course the detail. I kept, this was a shot at 6400 ISO. I kept it at 6400 ISO in daylight because I wanted both the face of the peacock and the feathers of the peacock, which are at a difference of maybe a foot, 2 feet. I wanted everything in focus. So f11. So because you can shoot high ISO, you can control your depth of field better and still get very little noise in the image. So that was very important for me. This is from our recent shoot in Jodhpur. Now, video. I've been talking a lot about stills here, but how many people here actually shoot video? Only 7 people? 10 people? That's it? I don't think we needed video function in this camera at all then, right? How many people want to have a video function in the camera? Yeah? Okay, fine. So this camera has high definition video capability built into it. So here's just a sample clip. Animals like langurs are actually, I don't really like them because they're very hard to photograph. I love them because they're fun, but then to photograph their black and their white is very hard. Remember I told you the two most difficult colors, black and white. Now langur has both of them. Now in this image, like the screen is a bit crushed, but you can see the detail on the monitor with the movement. It's on autofocus, and the focus is held on to the animal as the animal moves. And because of its 5-axis stabilization, I can do a lot of handheld moves with the camera while recording without using a gimbal and things like that. So I'm actually swirling the camera around the langur, and the focus is holding on to its eye as the langur is moving. And it was pretty amazing how that focus just locked on in autofocus. And normally I don't use autofocus when I'm shooting video, but I'm really impressed with what this camera can do with locking on with its focus. Now here's another one very important feature that Michael touched upon. It's dual pixel autofocus. Now you can touch the screen in one place, touch the screen in the other place, and the focus shifts. Here's just one little sample video. As the langur are playing, they move, and then immediately the focus goes to the animals in the back. I'm going to show you that clip one more time, just because it's fun. And the focus immediately shifted to the one on back and locked on. So that to me was pretty impressive, because most other cameras, if a subject moves, it starts losing focus completely. And that's one of the reasons why we do not use autofocus, because the autofocus is not reliable. Now with this, I was actually pretty impressed, and I am very conservative. I always try to shoot on manual focus. But just to do some tests, I was impressed as to how quickly it actually changes focus from one to the other. I did this with a 24 to 105 lens. So with all of that, the whole bundle of things that this camera comes with is pretty impressive, especially at its price point. It's a camera for pretty much everybody. Just to quickly summarize, it's got its dual pixel CMOS I just talked about, full HD, 6.5 frames per second, continuous shooting. What I haven't put on is the stabilizing system that the camera has, and it's got great resolution. So it's a bundle that most people will be very happy with. And time-lapse, of course, is a feature that I use a lot. I wish we could have done a time-lapse of all the people assembled in this room, but maybe we still can do that. And with that, I'd like to thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kadur. I'd request you to stay back on stage with us. I'd like to thank you first for a presentation delivered with so much passion. Thank you so much. And now, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kadur would like to take questions from the floor. So please raise your hand in case you have any questions that you'd like to address to him. And a microphone will be provided to you. I'd request you to also please identify yourself before you pose your question. Yes, sir.
Hello, sir. My question is dual pixel also works in still photography?
I think it's mostly a video function.
Okay.
Michael, can you clarify that? I used it in the video function mode, where it's live, and I use it to do my videos.
So just to clarify, dual pixel CMOS AF will work for still as well as for video. For still, when you go to live view mode, DAF gets activated. As long as you're using the optical viewfinder, it's your 45 all cross type points. The moment you switch to live view, where your LCD comes on, whether you're in still, of course, if you're shooting video, you're always in live view, right? So the moment you move to any sort of live view for still or for video, DAF gets activated automatically.
Thank you, sir.
And just to add to that, I actually forgot to mention one very important thing. The screen, it's a touch screen. So any part you touch the screen, it focuses, even on like the still photography mode. So you can touch screen focus.
Yes, next question, please. Or have we been rendered speechless?
I think I've answered all the questions. I think I've answered. Have I answered everyone's questions in my talk? Okay, no, we have one more.
There's one more? Okay. He's got one more question.
Is Mark IV is shooting in 4K also, and the sensor is just recording in half frame. And 6D Mark II is also same, or it's works on 35 full frame? 4K.
It's working on 35 full frame, full high definition video image is what you're getting from the full sensor scan.
So it's in 4K.
No.
It's in full HD.
It's in full HD.
Okay.
1920 1080. Yeah.
The time-lapse processes for
Time lapse processes are in 4K time lapse mode.
Okay. The CMOS sensors will be all works, not the half frame processes going.
I think Michael will answer that.
Okay, so when you're shooting in full HD, you're referring to video, right? When you're shooting in full HD, the entire sensor is being used, right? You made a point about the 5D Mark IV. When you're using the 5D Mark IV and you turn it to 4K mode, only in 4K when you're recording, a portion of the sensor is being used. That's because we are doing a pixel-to-pixel 4K. So it is 4K in terms of still is 8 megapixel, right?
Yes.
Yeah? So it is 8 megapixel of the center of the sensor, which is being used to record that 4K. Okay. So it's called pixel-to-pixel. That's what we do with...
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions at all? All right then, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause once again for Mr. Kadur. Thank you so much, sir. And now it's time for us to break for tea, ladies and gentlemen. But more importantly, this is our time to go around the demo zone and get a first-hand experience of the all-new EOS 60 Mark II. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to be back at 5:15 because addressing us on the other side of this break is the iconic wedding photographer, Mr. Prakash Tilokani. And we can't miss that, so come back at 5:15 sharp. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your tea break.